Nope.
How about now?
Nope.
How about oh? It's Mike. This is the very supreme broadcast of honor podcast, Drivecast. Yep. I'm riding down the road. I'm recording this shit. Listen to me now. I've got a show. I make it up as I go along, cause you know it is the best place to be to get your games, reality, and news. And my views, everything I'm saying right now is made up, just like the show. If you don't like it, shut up and just go. There's lots of people that like when I talk about things and stuff and such. That's the way I get shit done in this life. You should try it once. Maybe you'll get a whole pile of friends. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the very supreme broadcast of honor podcast, Drivecast. I think those get longer every time. Welcome. It's near the end of February now. Today is a nice day outside. Winter's starting to ease up a bit here in Ontario, Canada. I am really sick. By the time this podcast comes out, I probably won't be sick anymore, but if you watch the stream, you know that I was sick there for one Sunday broadcast. Today is Monday after that broadcast on Twitch. So I'm still pretty sick. Hopefully we'll be better because I'm going on vacation tomorrow to Old Quebec City, which we're really excited about. So anyway, yeah, here we are again for the Drivecast. As of this recording, I still haven't received any intro or outro songs. That's fine. There's no pressure to do that. Just letting you know it's still an option for you if you want to create your own intro song. Honestly, it doesn't have to be great. It doesn't have to be professional quality. Listen to the one you just heard. I mean, I recorded it in my car using a multi-track, thing, and I improvised the whole thing. So, it could be silly, whatever you want. It could just be you singing or rapping. I don't know. It doesn't have to be professional by any means. I love featuring stuff that you guys do, whether it's your art that you do for us, or any videos that you want retweeted, anything. I just love to share you guys, the whole TVSBOH family, with the world. So please, anybody that would like to send in an intro or an outro song, I can use it for both or either, whatever, and I'll make sure to feature it and say your name if you want, and put the info in the description and so on. Excuse me. So yeah, today I wanted to talk about how to play video games for a living, and that's a little bit of an inflammatory title because, that's, well, it is true. I guess I'm not lying when I say that. This is how to do it, not that you will do it. This is just some ideas about how you could do that. My thoughts about it, as usual, I just thought of this like a minute before I hit record, and then I took off on my drive. So, we'll explore this a bit. Thanks to everyone who's given me feedback on the podcast so far. As at the time of this recording, I've put up two. So, thank you for the feedback so far. A couple comments were about how, even though I do go off track, you're still enjoying it, and that's great. And I will mention again, I will go off track because, like I said, this isn't like a regular podcast where somebody prepares a show and gets guests and has a steady topic and things. Honestly, I just think of something just before I get in the car, because really I don't have time to put together a proper podcast where it's, I'm sitting in a studio and I've done the research ahead of time, where I don't cough and clear my throat every 5 minutes. This is just sort of like I have this extra time when I'm driving, and we'll see how it goes. So yeah, let's talk about how to play video games for a living, and it's a very broad thing, and it's exciting that it's a broad thing in this day and age. Back when I was a kid, this goes back to, I keep touching on this, but I've been addicted to video games. I swear I'm addicted. like a lot of people, and it's just society, like it's accepted in society for our generation to be, what do you do for entertainment? We play video games, and I think there is an addiction issue there a little bit. But also, I'm talking for myself. I don't personally love to watch TV at all. It's boring. Some shows are boring. I don't like sitcoms. I don't like commercials. So anyway, video games are like an interactive movie or an interactive show, so it's more entertaining. There I am off on a tangent again. But ever since I was little and I started playing video games, and once the concept of working came into my mind as I grew older, and mixed that with my love of video games, I thought, how can I ever play video games for a living? Could you imagine if you could play video games for a living? And I mean, it's a lot different than what you would picture when you're a kid, and when I was sitting there playing my Nintendo Entertainment System, and I was playing like Mario 3, and I was just like playing it for hours and hours and hours, and I just didn't want to stop playing video games. And when the concept of working starts coming into your life, you start thinking about your passions or what you love and how can you make that your work. So anyway, I remember the first time, probably one of the first times that I thought of that, and it's like, well, you can't. You can't play video games for a living. And then I remember one of my friends back then, and we were pretty young still, and video games were still, in their infancy, really, in terms of home video game systems. And he said to me, well, actually, I subscribed to the Nintendo Club or whatever it was, where you get a magazine every month, and they send you like information about games. There's cheat codes. There's all this stuff in this magazine. And this one guy was reading about world record competitions and tournaments that people were in, and they were actually playing for money, like big pots. And I mean, back then it was big for a kid, especially like 25 grand. If you could beat Mario in a certain time during this tournament, like whoever had the fastest time during the tournament got $25,000. And I mean, that never really left me, because as somebody who has been so passionate about video games since I was very small, and like I was born in 1981, and like I say, video games were just really coming into the household around that time, a little bit later than that, with the Atari systems. They sort of were the first to really put video games on the map in people's homes, in my opinion. There were some other systems, like in television. I'm just going to pass some people here. Don't mind the roaring engine of my 2001 Nissan. You feel so powerful when you're passing people. So powerful. So much power. What? Anyway, so Atari was coming into the homes, and that's really when it started to take off. Love losing my points. But anyway, so when there's people playing video games for not a living, but they were making money off video games. So as soon as that was a possibility, boom, I'm like, this is amazing. I can't do that. I knew though right away I couldn't do that because I suck at video games. I'm not good at them. Even though I do play them a lot, and you guys watch me play them a lot, I'm not like one of these streamers or YouTubers that plays video games to show you how to do the best moves or to show off my high score or, my 360 no scope, jumping off a building, landing in a jet and blowing up another helicopter or something. I'm not like that. I really do play because I just enjoy playing video games. It's my favorite form of entertainment. But anyway, I knew then that even though these people are in this world tournament, and making money at a young age off of video games, and like $25,000 20 years ago was worth more than it is now. Not a whole lot more, but enough. And as a kid, that was like, wow, Anyway, like I said, I knew that was out of the question. But as I grew up and I kept playing video games, and like I said, more and more as I, entered into high school and started really considering careers. I have the music thing as well. So as high school went on, I thought, what courses can I take to play video games or, do something in music? I had some other ideas. So I took programming in high school. They offered programming, and I really wish I would have stuck with it, if I'm completely honest. I didn't do well in high school. To be honest, I barely squeaked by in high school. It's not because I'm not a smart person. It's just because I was in a band, I was playing music, I was just having too much fun, partying, and, I come from a small town, and, we partied a lot on the weekends. It happened. That's what we did in a small town, was party. Even though we were underage, you'd find someone to buy you a bottle of booze, and you'd head to somebody's house whose parents weren't there or whatever, and you'd have a party. And luckily we had a few people that their parents didn't care that we partied there, so we'd go to their house a lot and have huge parties with our groups of friends. Anyway, but so maybe I wasn't doing my homework as much. I just didn't care, because I didn't care about what was being taught, really. I mean, I took a guitar class and got really good in that, obviously. I did okay in gym. I played some sports. You may not know it by looking at me now, but I did play. I played football and soccer and a few things. Excuse my sniffing. It is my cold. It's kicking my ass again. So, so as I'm going through high school, I start thinking about, I take programming, and then, I'm not good at math. That's one subject that I really do not excel at all. Math is like a real weakness of mine. So, you really do have to be able to grasp formulas and things like that for programming. I think I have a logical mind, so I was good at that part, but when you have to start doing like formulas and a lot of math, I just lost. Like, I couldn't keep up with it, so I dropped out of the programming class. So that was another avenue that sort of dashed my hope of working with video games in some way for my life. Like, that it's still in the back of your head. Well, maybe I can do this to work with video games for a living and for my life. So that was gone. And then, I went through high school, and I ended up applying to like music engineering and a few other things, and didn't get in. I got on a waiting list for music engineering because there's so many people that wanted to do it. It's sort of a renowned school, and the waiting list never emptied out, so I didn't get into that program, and blah, blah, blah. Ended up taking marketing and advertising, and I graduated from that, and then blah, 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 blah. I'm just sort of doing a real fast track over my life here, and then I went back to school some years later, and I took social service work, so that's what about 6 or 7 years ago now, I graduated from that, maybe 6 years, so I didn't end up doing anything with video games, but I continued to play them quite a bit. Excuse me. We'll call this one the Sickcast. Sickcast, Drivecast. So yeah, I didn't end up doing anything with video games in my life, but I kept playing them, and quite often. I've always sort of kept up the same pace with video games ever since I got my hands on a Nintendo controller. Actually, it was even before that. My first video game experiences, I've mentioned before, started with the Intellivision, and also look that one up on Wikipedia, and also the Commodore 64, which you'll probably have to look up as well. So anyway, I never got to do anything with video games for a living, but I did get to continue to play them, obviously. It's as I said earlier, it's such an amazing life that we have to have access to video games, and the fact that they've continued to get better and better and better and better. Like, the video games of today, I'm sure in 10 years we'll go, man, those sucked. And the only reason why that is because they keep coming out with better and better graphics, better and better ideas for games. Now, it's been a little stagnant in the last handful of years, but that's because it's hard to come up with something innovative. Most recently, we've had the sort of like an indie game revolution. So that's been exciting because it's brought back like Minecraft, all those 8-bit games. It's amazing that we were able to go back in time in graphics, but apply new ideas to them in ways that we never thought of before, either because of processing power. Like Minecraft still takes up a shitload of processing power. But, so anyway, there's some new ideas, and we're just lucky to live in this time. So that aside, now I get to play video games, and definitely not for a living, but it's like, I'm going to consider it a hobby for now, but I'm trying to make it a real career. And hopefully the advice that I'm able to give you today on this podcast will be enough so that if you think that maybe you want to do it for a living, or at least make it a serious hobby or even a casual hobby, if you just want to try it out, playing video games. No, and I shouldn't say playing video games for a living is different than playing video games for a hobby. But if you want to do the career path for a hobby, that's also fine. Or if you want to make a serious run at it, that's also fine. And hopefully the advice that I'm going to give from my experiences today will help you to do that with a little more knowledge, avoiding some pitfalls, learning from my mistakes, and just taking the little tips to heart. So, the first thing I wanted to talk about is YouTube. In terms of doing YouTube for a living, or making a serious run at it, or even a hobby, whatnot, if you want to be a gamer on YouTube, the first thing that I want to tell you is pay attention to this tip. I personally feel that YouTube gaming scene is starting to die off a little bit. Okay, you've got your main YouTubers that have literally millions upon millions of followers, and then you've got some of them with hundreds of thousands range kind of thing. So you've got those, and then you've got a shit ton of people below 100,000 subs, just a shit ton. And what happened was, like, in my opinion, YouTube is now saturated, and it has been for a while, but now it's oversaturated. Like, it's more than saturated with people playing video games on YouTube. And that's not to say that you shouldn't still do it for a hobby or even try to make a career out of it, but just be aware that, in my opinion, the scene is shifting from YouTube over to twitch.tv or live streaming in general. And you can actually live stream on YouTube, so don't get me wrong, I don't really mean live streaming on YouTube wouldn't be as effective, but maybe in another podcast I'll compare Twitch to Hitbox and YouTube's live streaming. I have a little bit of experience with Hitbox now, not any streaming experience, just watching. I do have a little bit of streaming experience with YouTube's live streaming. Anyway, Twitch is still the best for the most part, but Hitbox seems like it could be a contender. Anyway, back on focus. YouTube is a lot of fun. YouTube is, and I'm speaking about putting videos on YouTube and creating a community and so on, creating a brand, other than being a viewer, for being a creator of content. YouTube is fun. YouTube is a lot of work. YouTube can be frustrating. YouTube can be rewarding. YouTube can be a time suck. I'll explain that. YouTube can give you money. Okay, that is true. YouTube can provide you with a way to have an artistic outlet. It provide you with a way to sharpen skills and get experience in a number of different like life skills or work skills. And it's just incredible the amount of skills that you need, but the amount of skills that you will develop when you decide to do YouTube. I would have to say the first thing that you should probably think about if you're going to get into YouTube is, can you commit to a steady schedule of video releases? And I know that there's a lot of other important things, and hopefully I'll remember to talk about them all. But in my opinion, to be successful on YouTube, and measures of success vary. If you want to be a millionaire on YouTube, I'm going to tell you right now, it's just like trying to be a millionaire in Hollywood. It's like that old cliche. It's not going to happen, probably. And that's the truth. There's only a handful of YouTubers that make $1 million a year. And I mean a handful, like one handful. 5 to 10 people maybe. I don't know. Maybe there's a little bit more than that now, but YouTube doesn't even pay as much per view or per click on ads or anything like that they used to. It's not as lucrative because YouTube got saturated and oversaturated, like I was talking about. But anyway, I think one of the main things that you're going to want to be able to do is put out a video, or I mean like videos on a regular schedule, consistently. I've seen people I know, friends of mine, good YouTubers, I've seen their channel kind of dry up because they weren't releasing on a regular basis. Now, that's not to say that that wasn't what they intended. Like, some of them just didn't have time for YouTube anymore. Some of them, like, you know, as by now, hopefully you've seen the video or heard the news that Higgins has left the very supreme broadcast of honor. We're very sad, and we wish him well, but it's because he had other commitments, you know, family and work and all that good stuff, real life. And this ties into what I'm saying right now, is that, you know, if you want to have a successful YouTube channel, and I'm not saying that I do with TVSBOH by any means, I'm just saying if you do want one, you have to be able to commit to a regular schedule of videos. Now, what I mean by that is you could do one video every week. Okay, for example, one video every week, and as long as you tell people when that's going to come out, if they know when they can expect that, that is going to be the absolute best way for you to build a fan base. Okay? So, and here's another one of my opinions. I recommend one video per week minimum. If you can do one video per week minimum, it's easier. It's much easier to have a steady fan base if you're putting out one video per week. If it's one video every 2 weeks, I believe that it may be too easy to kind of, and I'm not trying to be mean, because this applies to me too, it's easier for people to forget about your channel. And I'm not saying that to be rude, as in you're forgettable and who gives a crap about your stuff. I just mean in the terms of the fact that YouTube is so oversaturated, once again, so oversaturated with YouTube gamers, that it's too easy for them to just find someone else that's playing a game they want to see, or find a funny channel that they like. If they look for funny channels or, you know, blogs or whatever, it's too easy for them to find what they're looking for. If you're not putting out regular content, you may just fade into the background. And unfortunately, if you want to have a successful YouTube channel, I believe that it's too hard to fight the constant video barrages from all the YouTubers out there. Like, if you make a video, let's say you just play Call of Duty videos, like Call of Duty no scope videos, that's what you do. Let's say you have a niche game channel, which is fine. You have a niche game channel just about no scoping. So excuse me. So that's your focus. Well, you have to know that you're also competing with everybody else that's making videos about Call of Duty in general. So if they're also a Call of Duty specific channel, but not about no scoping, but about everything, including no scoping, you're competing with them. You're competing with people that are talking about real life scopes. You're competing with all sorts of channels and videos. So the less videos you have, the less of a chance there is of people seeing. So I'm back to my point. I think one video a week is the minimum, in my opinion. But that aside, even if you can't do that, as long as everyone who's going to be watching your videos knows, you have to let them know what your schedule is for release. So if you say one video per week, it's best if you could say every Monday, or every Wednesday, or every Saturday, or whatever. Excuse me, it'd be the best if you could say every Wednesday at 8 p.m. General Mount or GMT, whatever. Like, just you have to be able to say yours. Get as specific as possible. So when Higgins and I were both doing the very Supreme Broadcast of Honor, we were able to make it work so that we put out a video every single day at 7:30 p.m. Eastern. And actually, when we started doing YouTube, we were putting out 2 videos every single day. Don't ask me how we did it, because we don't remember. Like, we were talking about that one time, Higgins and I, and we couldn't remember how we put out 2 videos a day. Like, we were up late at night, up early in the morning, on our lunch break at work doing stuff. So that was backbreaking, and eventually we went down to 1. So we were able, while Higgins and I were both there, it was easy. Well, it wasn't easy. No. That's the wrong word for me to say, because it wasn't easy. It definitely wasn't easy. I'm just taking a drink here, excuse me. It definitely was not easy, but we were able to make it work so that we had one video every single day the whole time we had TVSBOH together. Now that it's just me, I'm not able to keep up that pace. It's just 7 videos a week is lunacy for one person, in my opinion. Now, when you it's lunacy for someone who doesn't do it every day for a living. Now, there's channels out there that put out more, like 2 videos a day, and it's one person, but that's what they do for a living. Now, if I was doing this for a living all day, every day, then yes, I might be able to keep that schedule. So what I do personally right now, I have a full-time job, I've got a family life, I've got, and that's pretty much it. I do play music once every 2 weeks for a night, so that night I don't have time to work on stuff. So, you have to be able to balance stuff. But I'm able to put out, I said 3 to 4 videos a week, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to be able to stick to that. So I'll probably start off with 3 videos a week for now, and once everything gets settled again, because I'm sick right now. I just went through a big work event. If you were following me on Twitter, on TVSBOH, twitter.com/TVSBOH, you'll know that I had a big work event to go to. So that took up a whole day and a night, and I just haven't had time to do 4 videos a week for sure. But 3. Now here's the danger. I cannot let it go below 3 in my mind, because TVSBOH had 7 videos a week. People could expect a video every single night. And people do come to expect that, fans of the channel. So because I'm in a real danger zone here, so that's something to learn from. Because I was doing 7 videos a week, one every single night, 7:30, some people out of our 1,000 subscribers might come to the channel and go, well, there's no video tonight? Or maybe they're just late and they just sit there looking for the video and it never comes out. That could piss somebody off. Now, if they're that petty, they're like, oh, well, they missed the night, I'm not watching them ever again. That's fine. Like some people, that they may leave. That's another thing you have to know about YouTube. People come and go. Anyway, the point of the whole thing is try to release videos on a regular schedule, not as many videos as you can, because you really should have higher quality videos rather than quantity. But minimum 1 a week, in my opinion. If not, at least make sure you're telling people clearly on Twitter. You got to get the whole business part, and I'll talk about that. But you really have to release them on a regular schedule. So if you can commit to doing, even if it's just 1 a month, again, 1 a week is better, but if you can do just like regular schedules, that's super important. So if you can commit to that, you're already on your way. The next thing I will talk about is the business aspect. This YouTube thing, if you want to be successful in it, there's a few things that I can share with you that I think will be really helpful, okay, in terms of business decisions. One thing you might want to do is start looking around on YouTube for how to run a business, YouTube or Google, how to run a business, good business practice, just some basics about business in general. How to communicate with other businesses, how to communicate with fans, how to do this, how to do that. What does a business need in 2014? Because what you're doing is you're really running a business, and I think some people forget that. Now, again, I'm talking more from an aspect of if you want to make YouTube your living, or you want to be successful on YouTube, or you want to make any sort of money on YouTube, you should know a little bit about business practices. Now, again, if you're just doing this for a hobby and you're not as serious about it, you can just disregard this stuff if you'd like to. Just have fun, put out those videos when you can, when you want to. If it's just a hobby, then don't worry about it. But if you want to be serious about YouTube, then definitely you need to get into a little bit of a business mindset. And that may be tough for you. Maybe you're younger. Maybe you're only 13 listening to me right now. But trust me, Google is your friend in everything in life. It is every bit of information, good and bad information, available to you with just a quick search. And you can learn so much if you only just dedicate a little bit of time. It's going to pay off for you in the end. So just get a little bit of a business sense about yourself. Again, just learn about how to communicate with other businesses, how to communicate with fans or clients. Again, what does a business need in 2014? All of these things. Google YouTube tips. Don't just listen to one podcast from me. YouTube, go on YouTube, look for how to make a good YouTube channel. Just take your time and get as much information as you can about business, and then as much as you can about YouTube, which hopefully is what you're doing now. So just get a little bit of a business sense. Also, set up social media. It's super important for anyone doing YouTube. And a lot of this stuff is going to apply for Twitch too. Twitch TV. I guess I can make these generally about Twitch and YouTube, but definitely set up Twitter. I've found it to be the best tool for interacting with my community. It's so easy, really. Just sign up for a Twitter account, and you know what? I'm going to be honest. I didn't use Twitter personally before TVSBOH. I did not use Twitter. I have a personal account. I didn't really get it at first, and then I just got bored of it after a while. It didn't do it for me personally, but then I started using it for the Very Supreme Broadcast of Honor, and I've never looked back. I'm on it all the time, talking to my fans and viewers, the whole community, the Very Supreme Broadcast of Honor family. We talk all the time on Twitter. I love it. It's easy to just say, hey guys, how's your day going? One tip I'll give you about social media is the rule of threes. So you want to post at least 3 times a day throughout the day. And also, there's a few different rules that float around about Twitter, but if you know about Twitter, you'll know what I'm talking about when I say retweeting. A good rule is to try to tweet about yourself only once every 3 tweets or so. There's different rules, but you should interact with other people. Don't just talk about your own channel on Twitter. Try to talk about other people's channels, retweet other people's channels or live streams, or things about their life you find funny. Just use it like a regular Twitter account. Interact with your fans. Let them know that you appreciate them. I really appreciate the Very Supreme Broadcast of Honor family, so much. It means so much to me. So I go on Twitter. I spend that time because I like to talk to them. I like to hear what they have to say. I love when they share things with me. So, and I mean, I'm saying they, but also you if you are in the family and you're listening. So get that social media together. Get a Facebook. If you know Reddit, a lot of people use Reddit. I personally have never ever used Reddit, so I I have to learn it a little more. I've tried to learn it a few times. I've found it a little overwhelming, which seems weird, but there's a lot of like culture and rules that go along with Reddit. I've done some reading on that where you can really offend Redditors if you don't do things properly. So I really want to spend the time to learn it properly and do it properly so that I don't offend anyone and we have a clean channel and so on. Anyway, Reddit's another one. Definitely get the Twitter, Facebook. There's a number of other sites out there that you can use to create communities or interact with other people. But definitely, create your own forum somewhere. If you have a website, you can do that. But have a place where you can get involved with your community and also keep them up to date. Again, for me personally, Twitter has been the most successful. Facebook, not so much, although it is very valuable because your information shows up right on people's, in their life on Facebook. So it is another valuable tool. The next thing I think I could talk about in terms of YouTube, but also again for Twitch, is your graphic design, your brand. Those are sort of two similar things. Branding is really your image. It's a very encompassing thing, but it's what you look like essentially. So currently, as of today when I'm recording this, and last night I set up new branding for TVSBOH, because our old branding used to say video every day, 7:30 p.m. Eastern, but that's not the case anymore, so I had to change that branding. So I did. When you're creating your brand, try to do the best job you can. If you can't, and what I mean by that is you're creating your YouTube banner, your YouTube icon, which is in the top left of your YouTube banner, just sort of sits there. Your Twitch icon, same thing, Twitch banner, Twitter icon, Facebook banner, Facebook icon. There's all sorts of these little graphic design pieces that also make up your brand, okay? A brand is more than that. If you know the Very Supreme Broadcast of Honor, you know that we talk about burritos a lot. That's part of our brand. You know that Epic Bottle Throw, that's sort of trademarks and things that people associate with your what you're doing, what you're about. Very Supreme Broadcast of Honor, that's the name is part of the brand. You have to think of a good name. I do really like the Very Supreme Broadcast of Honor, TVSBOH. There's always some compromise and some challenges with coming up with a good name. It's better if it's short. The Very Supreme Broadcast of Honor is hard to say, but hopefully people are all right with saying TVSBOH. Some people say TVSBO because they don't know that it's initials, but that's fine too. People have embraced that. You just got to roll with that, and that's cool. There's nothing wrong with it. So anyway, going back to graphic design, the look. So again, I've changed the look again of TVSBOH personally for our channel. I decided this time to go back to a stripe motif. It's two different colors of blue. We haven't had blue before. I like the color blue. It's just fresh. It's a new take on it. When we first started TVSBOH, we had yellow and green stripes. So I thought I'd go back to a stripe motif, kind of like a throwback to the first design. Also, I put a burrito in the design because we started out. Our original logo was a burrito, a sword, and a crown. So I thought I'd bring the burrito back because burrito has just been a steady icon throughout TVSBOH. So I thought I'd bring that back into the visual design. I also have a guitar because I wanted to represent the fact that we do music quite a bit, and also a joystick, or like a game control. It's a joystick. I thought it was a good representation of games in general, rather than a specific looking controller. so that people, I guess, understand that I play, you know, games in general. So you really, when you're doing your branding, make sure it represents what you're about. And again, for the graphic design, make sure you have some things in there that represent you. Or if there's no like actual physical icons like a guitar or a game pad or anything like that, make sure the design at least represents the feel of what you do. So if you're a channel that's like only plays horror games, you know, you might want to consider making your graphics look like a horror genre, you know what I mean? Have some blood on there, or a knife, or a scary monster, or whatever. Excuse me. You know, those kinds of things. It is important to the branding, excuse me, and the graphic design. So, when you're doing the graphic design, if you're doing it yourself, follow tutorials on YouTube and the internet. If you're not sure what you're doing, or even if you do know what you're doing, just to get those tips to make everything look the best that you can. If you're like, man, I really wish I could like make a background that looks like this, check on YouTube and Google. You'll find it. I promise you'll find what you're looking for. You may have to take a lot of time to do it, but just take the time to make things look as best as you can until you're satisfied with it. You know, like I just put up the YouTube and the Twitter banners last night and this morning. I noticed that there's something on the Twitch banner or the Twitter banner that I want to change, like the shadows are going off in the wrong direction for some reason. I'm going to go back and change that. Like, make sure it's the best that you can make it until you're happy with it. And again, I'm talking about this more from people that want to have a really professional channel. If you're just doing it for hobby, you don't have to be this specific, but I'm trying to give you the best advice I can. Excuse me. So, yeah, do the graphic design. Make sure that it's all, like, try to make it the least sloppy you can. Make sure things line up. Make sure things don't look pixelated. There's a lot of tips on the internet about how to make sure your pictures don't look pixelated. If you use Photoshop, go to File, Save for the Web, I believe it is, and then save your picture that way. I found that increases the quality, especially for the internet. It looks so much better in terms, it's not pixelated at all. Trust me, go that way. I think it saves it as a .png file, save for the web. That's a great tip for you there. If you don't have Photoshop, or you don't have the ability to use Photoshop, or you don't want to do your own graphics, look on the internet, put it out there on Twitter that you're looking for somebody to do graphic design for your channel. You may be able to find people that are willing to do it for free, that are just trying to get their name out there, or you might have to pay a little bit of money. So, you know, there's a few different avenues you can go through there. So again, also with your brand, you want your name to reflect what you're doing. For example, the Very Supreme Broadcast of Honor. It was a little bit silly. It's a little bit wordy, but it's that was to reflect what we're doing. You know what I do. I try to infuse comedy into like the Very Supreme Broadcast of Honor. I don't think we're supreme. You know, of honor. What is that? It's just funny. You know, it's over the top. It's on purpose. So make sure what you do is on purpose. The colors you choose, the name of your channel. Once again, with the naming of your channel, make sure it's memorable. Make sure, you know, in my opinion, and my advice is, don't do like Johnny123 DF or something like that. Try to make it as memorable as possible. Not saying that TVSBOH is the most memorable, but it is what we settled with, and I am still happy with it. But the advice is to just try to make it as memorable as possible, not too long, and you know, as original as you can in those confines. Brand, tie it all together. Make sure it meets the tone of your videos before they even watch it. They're going to judge you based on how it looks. If your channels don't look professional, if your Twitter doesn't look professional, they may not pay attention to you at all just because of that. It sounds harsh, but some people are like that. And when I took my education in this stuff, that's a huge point for you to learn, is that people, some part of the market will just, nope, I don't like that color, and they won't, even if it's subconsciously, they won't watch your videos. Like it does work like that for some people. So you try to get rid of that as much as possible. So get your brand together, get a consistent feel and theme, in everything you do and say, and the kind of videos you make. If you say you're going to make just horror videos, stick to just horror videos. Think of all that ahead of time. Really sit down and plan it out, because if you say you're just doing horror video games, and you name your channel Horror Video Game Player, and then all of a sudden you get bored of horror video games, or they all start to suck and you want to change to like first-person shooters, it's going to, like, those videos are going to clash with, you're going to have a harder time roping in the other people to watch your videos. So as much as possible, you have to do all your planning up front, and that's really something in business. If you do read those business tips online, you're going to learn about that. It all happens before you open the doors for business. You got to do as much planning as you possibly can ahead of time, before you click save on that YouTube name and upload your first video. Think all this stuff out. Really do it. In 2 months, do I still want to be, horror games only HD or something like that, or 720p HD horror games Twitch or something. Like, really think about your name, think about your brand, your image. Okay, enough on that. The next, it will sort of tie into that, on YouTube especially, thumbnails. That's another part where people, in my opinion, they could do a little more. I try the best I can. Some people don't do anything, which, again, if it's just a hobby, it's fine. But if you're trying to make it on YouTube, I personally recommend taking time to make thumbnails for your videos and making them the best that you can. It's hard. It's really tough to come up if you're doing, especially when you're doing video every day. But trying to come up with a thumbnail that will make people want to click on the video. And it's really, really important on YouTube, because that's what people see in the search results. They do see the title of the video you put in. They can see how long the video is. But the other part, the only other part they see, and the part that really catches their eye, is the YouTube thumbnail. So some tips for the YouTube thumbnail: make the picture about what your video is about as much as possible. Use humor. Some people use sex. It's, that's against, you're not going to show people having sex, and you're not showing nudity, but some people do use, like a woman in a bathing suit, for example, or a topless guy with muscles or something, to try to get people to click. And you know what? It does work some of the time. I really try to shy away from that, but there's some times when it's just so relevant. Like, we did a live stream song, and it was called Boobs, because that's what was being put into the chat over and over again. That's what was sung over and over again, was boobs. So when we made the thumbnail, we put a picture of, now it's somebody in like a top or a bra or something, and it's not tasteless. You don't see boobs. It's somebody in a bra, but you get the idea that it's about boobs. And that does get clicks, unfortunately. And I say that because, in this day and age, and the way it always should have been, it's kind of exploitive. I don't know if I'm getting the right word there, but it exploits women's bodies, and it's not great. And same with men. You put the hunky guy on there with no shirt on, that's exploiting men. So it's exploiting people a bit, for the sake of your YouTube channel. So you really have to think about ethics and what you're willing to do for your YouTube channel. Some people don't even swear in their YouTube videos because ethically they know that underage people are watching the videos, that 8-year-olds do have access to YouTube, so ethically they don't even swear in their videos. So, ethics is another business decision you're going to have to think about. Do you want swearing on your channel ever? Sometimes, or you're going to put a warning at the front of your videos? Anyway, back to thumbnails. Do the best job you can. Make the writing as big as you can without losing, the picture. You're going to want to still be able to read it when the thumbnail is small. I mean, if you're putting little tiny writing on there, people can't read it when it's a small thumbnail. Because when you're making it in Photoshop, for example, it might be quite big and you can read it just fine, but always make the picture small before you save it so you can see what it's going to look like when it is a thumbnail size on YouTube. Make sure that the picture's clear, that the nothing's pixelated. Make sure that the writing is as clear as possible. All that's important. Another little tip for you is that on the bottom right-hand corner of YouTube videos, when people see them in the search or on your page, on your YouTube channel, the time is in the bottom right-hand corner. And the problem with that is that if you have writing that goes over into that little time area where it says like 2 minutes, 53 seconds, it's white writing with a little black box around it. It can obscure your writing, so make sure that you're conscious of that you put the writing above that or beside that if you can. Sometimes you just don't have a choice. Anyway, those are tips. You can always, another tip for making thumbnails is you can increase the contrast. So I know in Photoshop you can go to, I think it's edit image or image properties. I can't remember while I'm driving here, but you go to the contrast and you up that contrast. It makes it more catchy to the eye. Also, you can use contrasting colors like orange and blue, or things like that. Help your thumbnail to stand out so people will see them and actually click on them. So all those things are important on YouTube. Pretty much the same with Twitch live streaming. Twitch live streaming, I guess you would just instead of releasing a video per week, have a regular Twitch schedule every week if possible, or every 2 weeks. I'd say minimum 1 stream a week. Again, same like videos. And always communicate how often and stick to that schedule. That's very important. Another thing about being professional on YouTube, if you want to have the best channel possible, have the best software and hardware that you can afford. Sometimes, and most times, whoops, hitting the rumble strip as I'm exiting the highway there. Whoa, oh my. But you're going to start out with crappy stuff. You really are. I did. You're going to start out with what you have right now in front of you. Maybe it's just a laptop and that's it, with a built-in microphone. Maybe you're not going to have a face cam at all because it just doesn't work, or you don't have that ability. That's fine. You start out with what you start out with. That's fine. You have Bandicam for your webcam or for your screen capture. That's fine. Whatever. Eventually, you're going to, as it becomes more and more important to you, as maybe you'll start asking for things for Christmas. I did. That's where I got my new webcam that I use. You're going to have to save up. You're going to have to buy used things, buy a used computer, buy used headphones, whatever you need to do to get better equipment to make your broadcasts or your YouTube videos better. It's so important because people really will tune out if you have a choppy YouTube video, or if your internet's not good enough to live stream, you probably shouldn't live stream. It's not worth it. Save up, get better internet. If you don't have that ability, it sucks. I'm sorry, but maybe you won't be able to do live streaming. If you're not able to make a YouTube video that isn't like stutters like that, maybe you have to wait until you have a minimum equipment. And for me, I think the minimum is, as long as it's not stuttering and the quality isn't too bad, and visually and audio and your voice, then you're going to be okay. But there is a point where it's not good enough to be on YouTube or Twitch, and that's not being harsh. I just mean that people won't even watch it, and they may tune you out forever. Like, they'll see your name, go, nope, I've watched their videos, I know that they're pretty crappy. So you really do have to have a certain level of equipment and a certain quality of stream and YouTube video in order to be successful. You really do. So that's something else to consider. Another thing would have to be, the next thing I wanted to mention was being a YouTube partner or a network partner on YouTube. So I'm partnered with RPM Network. They've been pretty good. I personally wish that we didn't have to be with networks, but the reason why you go with a network, in my opinion, especially right off the bat as soon as you can, is not, I guess that's not really good advice. You don't want to go as soon as you can. You want to get a little bit of a following first. You want to make sure that you can commit to doing it, that it's working for your life and your schedule, and then, get 100 followers or 100 subs rather, and then look into like YouTube partners. Because what they're good for is monetization, in my opinion. You're going to have a much easier time getting your YouTube videos monetized quickly. I mean, YouTube opened it up so everyone can monetize any video, which is why YouTube's oversaturated with YouTube gamers and other people trying to make it in YouTube, because as soon as they opened that up, blam, it was too late. So, in my opinion, it's easy to get partnered now, I find, with like RPM Network or Social Blade. We went through Social Blade to get an RPM Network membership partnership. So that's what I recommend, is to get partnered if you can, a little bit in. It's usually a year contract. Just try it out. It's easier to get monetized, and it's easier to get any issues you have on YouTube resolved. Otherwise, it takes months sometimes before videos can be released. All sorts of headaches and nightmares. It's such a shitty system, in my opinion. They're holding you over the barrel. Everyone who's partnered gets preferential treatment. That's just how it works. Not partnered with YouTube, but I mean partnered with like RPM, like a third party membership. It's sort of you're going to learn real quick that YouTube and even Twitch with their partnership stuff, it's all just a big friggin' money grab joke farce thing. They promise you money. I'm just about home here. I'm at the pharmacy. I got to pick up some cold meds before I go on vacation. But I'll just finish up here real quick with what I wanted to say. So, definitely look into partnership. That's going to, in my opinion, that's your line into doing this for a living or start getting paychecks from YouTube. You need a partnership. I don't have time to go into partnerships. Maybe I'll do that in another podcast. But definitely do your research well ahead of time before you join a network, and be a network partner with somebody, because you do get locked in for like a year, and if you're not happy, you're going to be screwed. So talk to people, do your research. So that's another thing to consider. You do basically need to be a partner with Twitch in order to get paid. So you can get donations, but it's really good if you're able to get a subscribe button on Twitch, as well as have donations. It's really the best way. So you're going to find, I have to wrap this up because I'm already at home. So this podcast actually went on quite a bit longer than some of the other ones, but that's fine. I had a lot to talk about, so I'm glad I could share what I did with you. I bet I'd have more things to talk about if I did more, like some actual research. But that's what I have for you right now. Basically, to summarize, it is possible to make it on YouTube, to make it on Twitch, but it takes a lot of time. And that's maybe something I didn't get to say, but it takes a long time. I'm talking years. To build your communities up, interact with your communities, have people enjoy hanging out with you, to hang out with each other around your brand and your YouTube channel or your Twitch channel. It literally will take years. So don't expect it to happen quickly. It takes a long time, and you got to be lucky. You have to be lucky with timing, choosing what games to play at what time, doing giveaways, spending your own money on equipment and games and all sorts of things. A lot factors into it. It's a lot harder than a lot of people think. Not a lot of people manage to make it long term in YouTube and Twitch, but it is possible. So if I were to give you a huge piece of advice, is just stick with it. No matter if you get people trolling your channels, if you get people telling you that it's not good or whatever, just take any advice that people are giving you, any constructive criticism, because people will be trolls and just be rude to you. And you just have to have a thick skin. You have to learn to ignore those people and just keep on going. They're just jealous, right? So you just got to keep on trucking. take people's advice. Listen to your community. If they're saying, you know, man, you're playing way too much of this game, and if you hear that a lot, I mean, people can have their own opinions. But if you hear stuff like that a lot, then take it into consideration. You know, listen to your community, build up your communities, and after a couple of years, in my experience, like I've been doing this over a year and a half now, maybe over a year and a half, and I'm finally starting to get a nice community together. The TVSBOH family is awesome. I love hanging out with you guys, and it is possible. You just got to hang in there, build that community, have interesting and fun things, be consistent, let the bad stuff roll off your shoulders, learn from your mistakes, be humble, admit to your mistakes, keep on trucking, and just have fun, because that's the big part. Once you stop having fun, just stop doing it. It's that easy, you know. Just say, hey guys, had a good run. I'm not really digging this anymore, but I still want to talk to you or whatever. So, you know, you can do all that stuff and make it. You can do it. So thanks very much for listening to the Very Supreme Broadcast of Honor podcast, Drivecast, for today. This was a huge topic, and again, I just thought of it before I started recording, so there's probably a lot more I could tell you. Maybe I'll do another part one day, but that's what I got for now. So once again, follow us on Twitter, twitter.com/TVSBOH, facebook.com/TVSBOH, twitch.tv/TVSBOH. I do 3 live streams a week usually. If it changes, I'll let you know. And that's Friday night, 11:30 p.m. Eastern to 2 a.m. Eastern, Saturday, 1 p.m. Eastern to 3 p.m. Eastern, and Sunday, 1 p.m. Eastern to 3 p.m. Eastern. 3 to 4 YouTube videos a week right now. Hopefully, I'll be able to get up to that 4 number soon. But you're obviously on this channel right now. It's youtube.com/TVSBOH. Thanks very much for listening today. I am still accepting submissions for the intro, outro songs. Send that to tvsboh@gmail.com. I'd really appreciate it. And we'll see you so soon. Thanks a lot, guys. You guys are great. I really appreciate you listening to this ramble blamble. Talk to you later, guys. Burrito. Podcast is over, and I was glad that you were here. If you ever need a pick-me-up, just send us a tweet or watch our videos or live stream or just sing this song. I like burritos, I like burritos, I like burritos, man. I like burritos, I like burritos.